What if a better life isn't built by adding more, but by letting go? In a world that endlessly demands more, more success, more attention, more hustle, it's easy to feel like we're constantly falling behind. The pace is dizzying, the noise is deafening, and through it all, you might be asking yourself, is this really what life is supposed to feel like? But what if the secret to a better life isn't hidden in the next goal, the next notification, or the next applause? What if the real answer is quieter, more subtle, but far more powerful? What if true transformation doesn't begin by adding, but by subtracting? Imagine this. You're standing in a cluttered room filled with distractions, old fears, outdated beliefs, unspoken resentments, digital noise, the weight of other people's expectations. You don't need more furniture. You need to clear space. You need to breathe. This is not just about minimalism. This is about intentional living. It's about eliminating what no longer serves you so that what truly matters can finally breathe. In this episode, we'll dive into 10 powerful things you should quietly eliminate from your life. Not in a dramatic, life-shouting way, but in a wise, Stoic-inspired path toward clarity, purpose, and inner stillness. These are not surface-level hacks. These are deep-rooted mindset shifts. They don't require a social media announcement. They don't beg for approval. They're personal, private, and profoundly effective. We'll explore how to let go of the fear of other people's opinions, detach from toxic relationships, release the need to control everything, reduce digital clutter and mental noise. By the end of this journey, you'll have a roadmap, not for becoming someone new, but for returning to who you truly are under all the layers you never needed to carry. Because some of the most powerful transformations don't shout, they whisper, they happen in silence. Let's begin. A letting go of the fear of other people's opinions. Pause for a moment and ask yourself honestly, how many of your choices, big or small, have been shaped by the invisible weight of someone else's judgment? You hold back from speaking up in a meeting. You hesitate to launch that idea. You mute your personality just a little, because what if they think it's too much? That fear doesn't announce itself loudly. It creeps in quietly, shaping your actions, reshaping your identity. Over time, you begin to live a version of yourself that's not yours, but a filtered, smaller version built for approval. And yet, here's the freeing truth. People aren't thinking about you nearly as much as you think they are. Most people are consumed by their own anxieties, insecurities, and to-do lists. Their criticism isn't a reflection of your worth. It's a mirror of their own inner dialogue. Even if someone does judge you, so what? Ask yourself, what real, lasting impact does their opinion have on my goals, on my peace, on my values? Most of the time, the answer is none. Stoicism offers a compass in this confusion. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, said, "If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." He wasn't encouraging ignorance. He was pointing to freedom, because growth often comes wrapped in misunderstanding. Choosing to evolve will sometimes mean being misjudged, being doubted, being dismissed. But you know what's worse than being misunderstood? Never allowing yourself to be fully known because you were too busy editing yourself for a crowd that wasn't even watching. You can't control other people's opinions, but you can absolutely control how much space they take up in your head. Let this be your turning point. Start choosing alignment over approval. Start living in a way that's less about being liked and more about being honest. Because at the end of the day, the most painful prison is not built by others. It's built by your fear of their judgment. And the key to that prison, it's already in your hand. Now take a breath, because in the next section, we're going even deeper into something that holds many people back for years: toxic relationships, and how to release them quietly and powerfully. Continuing from where we left off, overcoming the fear of others' opinions is not about tuning out the world entirely. It's about turning the volume up on your own inner voice. Once you recognize that external judgment is often fleeting and inconsequential, you're free to build a life rooted in your truth. So how do you start living that truth without being held hostage by fear? It begins with awareness. The next time you pause before speaking up, hesitate before sharing your work, or stop yourself from taking a risk, catch the thought. Ask yourself, am I making this choice because it's true to my values, or am I shrinking myself to fit someone else's expectations? That moment of inquiry is powerful. It puts space between stimulus and response, and in that space lies your ability to choose differently. Now let's make this tangible. One of the most effective ways to loosen fear's grip is to engage in what psychologists call exposure. Deliberately doing the things you fear in small, manageable doses. Share a vulnerable thought in a group discussion. Post a personal insight online, even if it's imperfect. Try that bold outfit that expresses who you really are. These may seem like small steps, but each one is a quiet act of rebellion against a lifetime of approval seeking. And with each act, you send a message to your brain. I can survive judgment. I can handle discomfort. I am safe to be me. Over time, what once felt terrifying becomes your new normal. Your confidence doesn't grow from applause. It grows from alignment. Another crucial part of this journey is your environment. Take a moment to consider, are the people around you helping you grow or keeping you stuck? Some environments thrive on subtle jabs, dismissive comments, or constant criticism. And if you're always bracing for judgment, it becomes almost impossible to be authentic. Instead, seek out people who light up when you shine, who celebrate your quirks, and who remind you that you don't have to perform to be accepted. These people won't just support your journey, they'll inspire it. But even in the most loving environments, the real work lies within. The goal isn't to eliminate judgment altogether, because judgment is everywhere. The goal is to become so grounded in your values that outside noise no longer drowns out your truth. True freedom comes not from silence, but from selective listening. It's important to remember that this fear, as deeply rooted as it is, comes from a natural human need, the need to belong. For our ancestors, being accepted by the tribe meant survival. But today, the cost of approval often means the death of authenticity. You weren't born to blend in. You were born to stand out, not by being louder or more outrageous, but by being real. So pause and ask yourself a deeper question. When I look back at my life, do I want to remember a version of myself that bent to please everyone? Or do I want to remember the moments I stood tall in my truth, even when it was hard? That clarity, that sense of purpose, is what carries you through the noise. Because here's the truth, the judgments you fear today will be gone tomorrow. But the decisions you make from fear, those linger. They shape the life you live and the person you become. So instead of waiting for permission, give yourself the approval you've been craving. Instead of editing your identity for the audience, step into the spotlight of your own values. When you do, something remarkable happens. The world quiets down, your thoughts settle, and your path becomes undeniably, unmistakably yours. And with that clarity, you're ready to face the next step, learning to recognize and remove what drains you most, starting with toxic relationships. Previously, we explored how setting a daily purpose can ground us and bring clarity to our lives. But even with a strong sense of direction, one question remains: who are you surrounding yourself with on this journey? We've all heard the phrase, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. But what if some of those people are draining your energy, chipping away at your confidence, or making you question your worth? Toxic relationships aren't always loud or obvious. They often creep in quietly through lingering tension, subtle criticism, or lopsided dynamics where you're constantly giving, yet rarely receiving. Over time, these interactions silently erode your emotional well-being. They create a space where you feel anxious, underappreciated, or even trapped. You may begin to doubt yourself, lose motivation, or carry an invisible weight that exhausts you physically and mentally. And yet, many of us hold on to these relationships. Why? Sometimes out of guilt, sometimes out of fear of confrontation, or simply because we've grown so used to the dysfunction, we start to accept it as normal. Here's the truth. Removing toxic connections from your life doesn't have to be dramatic. You don't need to light fires or burn bridges. In fact, one of the most powerful and peaceful ways to reclaim your energy is to do so quietly and with intention. You don't owe anyone an explanation. Begin by gently creating distance. Spend less time with those who deplete you and more time with people who encourage your growth and bring out your best self. But how can you tell if a relationship is truly toxic? Pay close attention to how you feel after spending time with someone. Do you walk away feeling heavy, anxious, or small? Do you feel like you're constantly tiptoeing around their mood, afraid to be fully yourself? If the answer is yes, then that relationship might be doing more harm than good. Healthy relationships are like sunlight. They energize you, support you, and allow you to thrive just as you are. They don't leave you emotionally drained. They nourish your inner world. Stoic philosophy reminds us of the importance of protecting our peace by focusing only on what we can control. Epictetus once said, "The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best." That doesn't mean abandoning every difficult relationship at the first sign of trouble, but it does mean setting firm boundaries with those who repeatedly bring negativity into your life. Boundaries aren't walls, they're filters. They don't shut people out, they protect your well-being. They give you space to engage without being overwhelmed. For example, if you have a friend who constantly brings drama, you might limit how often you meet them or steer the conversation away from chaotic topics. It's not about being cold, it's about being clear. And let's not forget, not every challenging relationship is beyond repair. Sometimes honest and heartfelt conversations can lead to real growth. People can change, but if they don't and you've given it your best shot, it's okay to let go. Letting go doesn't mean you've stopped caring. It means you care enough about your mental and emotional health to prioritize it. Earlier, we talked about the importance of quietly letting go of toxic relationships to protect your inner peace. Now comes the next step, taking practical action to shift your environment toward growth and well-being. Start by doing something simple but powerful. Make 2 lists. One for the people who consistently uplift you, those who bring out your light, support your growth, and leave you feeling energized. And the other, for those who drain you, people whose presence often leaves you feeling tense, discouraged, or emotionally depleted. Once you've made these lists, take a moment to reflect. For each draining connection, ask yourself, can this relationship be improved through honest communication? Or is it time to lovingly create some distance? Then take just one small step. Maybe it's reducing the time you spend with that person. Maybe it's setting a gentle but firm boundary. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It just has to be intentional. Every small action is a signal to yourself. My well-being matters. Also, challenge yourself with this honest question. Am I maintaining certain relationships simply out of habit, or do they truly add value to my life? If the answer leans toward habit, it may be time to begin the process of letting go, quietly and respectfully. You don't need anyone's permission to protect your peace. This is your life, your space, your emotional health. And remember, cutting out toxic relationships isn't about being cold or cruel. It's about being kind to yourself. By removing those draining connections, you create room for new, healthier relationships to flourish. You also create the emotional clarity and energy needed to build a life that feels fulfilling, peaceful, and aligned with your values. Because real self-respect, it begins when you surround yourself with people who see your worth, those who reflect back to you the strongest version of who you can become. Principle 3. Breaking free from destructive habits. Let's shift inward for a moment. While people around us shape our emotional landscape, the habits we engage in daily can either build us up or quietly break us down. We all have routines that seem harmless on the surface. Maybe it's scrolling through social media late into the night, procrastinating tasks we know are important, reaching for junk food the moment stress hits. These small patterns might seem insignificant, but over time, they silently steal our energy, erode our discipline, and keep us from living fully. Destructive habits aren't just time wasters. They sap your inner strength. They wear down your willpower and keep you stuck in a loop of frustration and regret. But here's the good news. Breaking free starts with one key ingredient: awareness. Many of these habits run on autopilot. You're not even consciously choosing them. They've become ingrained. That's why the first step is to name them. Ask yourself, what habits leave me feeling worse afterward? What behaviors are quietly holding me back from becoming who I want to be? Once you bring these patterns into the light of conscious awareness, you take back control. Stoicism teaches that real freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you want. It comes from mastering your desires and impulses. As Seneca wisely said, most powerful is he who has himself in his own power. That doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It means being intentional with what you allow to rule your life. One highly effective approach to breaking bad habits is replacement. Instead of just trying to quit something, replace it with something better. For instance, if you tend to scroll your phone mindlessly when you're bored, try reading a few pages of a book, going for a walk, or even journaling your thoughts. The goal isn't to leave a void, it's to fill that space with something more nourishing. Another key: start small. Many people fail to change habits because they try to do too much too fast. Don't attempt a total life overhaul overnight. Focus on one micro change at a time. If late night snacking is your challenge, begin by swapping out just one unhealthy snack with a lighter, healthier option. Over time, these small wins stack up, building confidence and real momentum. Finally, be gentle with yourself. Breaking old patterns is hard. You'll have slip-ups, that's normal. Instead of shaming yourself, use those moments to reflect. What triggered this? What can I do differently next time? This isn't about punishment, it's about progress. And every bit of progress, no matter how small, is a victory on the path to emotional strength. In the previous section, we explored how small, consistent shifts in your daily habits can lay the foundation for real transformation. The key idea: you don't need to be perfect. You just need to make steady progress. Progress isn't measured by giant leaps. It's made in quiet daily choices. So here's something simple but incredibly powerful you can try this week. Choose one habit you know is holding you back. Just one. Then commit to replacing it with something more positive for the next 7 days. Each day, track your behavior. Write down what you did, how it felt, and whether you noticed any change in your mood, energy, or focus. At the end of the week, pause and reflect. Did this new habit make you feel more in control of your time? Did you feel calmer, more present, or more productive? Did you feel like you were living more intentionally? These reflections aren't just exercises in journaling. They're tools for deep self-awareness. They help you identify what's working and what needs adjustment. And most importantly, they remind you that you are in charge. Ask yourself, am I controlling my habits or are my habits controlling me? If the answer is the latter, don't panic. Just remember, you have the power to choose again and again and again. Every small step toward eliminating a destructive habit is also a step toward reclaiming your freedom, self-worth, and peace of mind. Because here's the truth. Your habits quietly shape the architecture of your life. When you remove the ones that no longer serve you, you create room. Room for routines that energize you, support your growth, and reflect the person you're working to become. Meaningful progress doesn't require grand gestures. It's not about flipping your life upside down overnight. It's about small, intentional choices, repeated consistently, that lead to lasting change. Principle 4. Letting go of the need to control everything. Once we begin to shift our inner habits, another question naturally arises. How much control do I really need to feel safe and in charge of my life? Think about it. How often do you catch yourself trying to manage every little detail, whether it's at work, in your relationships, or with plans that never quite go as expected? The desire for control is deeply wired into us. It creates the illusion of safety, of predictability. It makes us feel like we're steering the wheel. But here's the paradox. The more tightly we grip, the more stressed we become. Life doesn't bend to our will. The weather changes, people disappoint us, plans fall through. And when we cling to what we can't control, we invite in frustration, anxiety, and burnout. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means redirecting your energy, choosing to focus on what's actually within your power, and releasing what's not. This principle sits at the very heart of Stoic philosophy. Epictetus said it best, "Some things are up to us, and some things are not." The Stoics taught that our peace depends on this distinction. We can control our actions, our thoughts, our responses, but we can't control outcomes, events, or other people's decisions. Picture this. You're stuck in traffic, already running late for an important meeting. What can you do? You could pound the steering wheel, curse under your breath, and stress yourself into a frenzy. Or you could take a deep breath, accept the reality of the moment, and choose how to respond. Maybe you put on an inspiring podcast. Maybe you use the time to mentally rehearse what you'll say in the meeting. Same traffic, same delay, but two completely different experiences, simply based on where you place your focus. This shift from resisting uncertainty to embracing it is transformative. It doesn't happen overnight, but it starts with awareness. Begin by gently reminding yourself. Uncertainty is a natural part of life. No amount of overthinking or overplanning will ever eliminate it. What you can control is your relationship with that uncertainty. Letting go of the need to control everything is a practice. It's about loosening your grip on what was never yours to manage in the first place and trusting that you have the resilience to handle whatever comes. In the last section, we explored a powerful shift, letting go of the need to control everything and choosing instead to focus on what you can control, your mindset, your reactions, your actions. Now let's take that principle one step further and explore a subtle but liberating Stoic practice, detachment from outcomes. At first glance, detachment might sound cold or indifferent, but that's a misunderstanding. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care deeply about the effort, but let go of obsessing over the result. Think of it this way. You give your all to a project, a conversation, a goal, not because you're guaranteed a perfect outcome, but because the process itself is an expression of your integrity. You do your best because it reflects who you are. Whether it leads to applause or silence, success or setback is secondary. Let's say you're working hard on an important presentation. Detachment means pouring your heart into the preparation, practicing with focus, and showing up fully present, without clinging to whether people will praise it or pick it apart. Why? Because their reactions are not within your control. Your effort is. This mindset frees you. It helps reduce anxiety and brings your attention back to the only thing that truly matters, the present moment. Here's a simple practice you can try. The next time you feel overwhelmed or frustrated because things aren't going as planned, pause. Take a breath. Then ask yourself this key question. Is this something I can control? If the answer is yes, then act. Step forward, do your part. But if the answer is no, practice letting go. Remind yourself, I can't control this, but I can control how I respond to it. That one shift can bring immediate calm. Over time, it becomes a habit, one that keeps you grounded, even when life throws curveballs your way. Another effective tool for letting go of control is mindfulness. When you're fully present, when you're connected to this moment, you naturally worry less about what's out of reach. The mind slows down, the noise fades. You begin to notice how much tension comes from imagining worst-case scenarios or trying to script life's next act. You don't need to become a meditation expert overnight. Just start small. A few minutes a day of focused breathing, observing your surroundings without judgment, or simply checking in with your body, your posture, your heartbeat, your breath. These moments bring your mind back home. Ask yourself, am I draining my energy trying to micromanage life? Am I holding too tightly to something I was never meant to control? If the answer is yes, don't force a huge change. Start small. Today, choose to let go of just one thing. Maybe it's the outcome of a conversation, someone's opinion about you, a delay that disrupts your plan. Notice how it feels to release that burden, just for a moment. You may find it surprisingly light, because here's the truth. Letting go of control doesn't mean giving up. It means choosing peace over panic, acceptance over resistance. Life will always come with uncertainty. You can't outrun it. But by narrowing your focus to the things within your power, your choices, your mindset, your effort, you stop wasting energy on things you can't change. And in doing so, you reclaim your strength. In that quiet space beyond the struggle, you'll discover clarity, emotional strength, a calm mind, ready to meet life as it is, not just as you wish it to be. Principle 5. Releasing unrealistic expectations. And now another silent force that often disrupts our peace. Unrealistic expectations. They're sneaky. They don't announce themselves with flashing lights, but they quietly sabotage your mindset, your happiness, and your ability to stay present. They whisper lies like, this should be easier. They should have known better. It shouldn't have happened this way. We've all been there. You expect a friend to show up for you in a certain way and feel crushed when they don't. You set a big goal only to feel defeated when results don't come fast enough. You imagine a smooth path ahead and grow bitter when obstacles appear. But here's the catch. The problem isn't having goals or standards. It's being too attached to a specific version of how things should go. That attachment creates a constant gap between expectation and reality, and in that gap lives disappointment, frustration, and stress. Stoicism offers a different path. It teaches us to approach life with realism, not fantasy, flexibility, not rigidity. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. And he was right, because when you let go of how things should be, you begin to embrace life as it is. That's not giving up. That's growing up with wisdom. In the last section, we explored how unrealistic expectations quietly sabotage our peace by creating a gap between what is and what we think should be. Now let's go deeper into this mindset, because when you stop fighting reality, you start flowing with life. You can't always control how life unfolds. Plans fall apart, people change, circumstances shift without warning. But what you can control, always, is how you choose to respond when things don't go your way. By letting go of rigid expectations, you open yourself to a new kind of freedom. You begin to see life as it is, not just through the lens of how you hoped it would be. That shift may sound subtle, but it changes everything. A common culprit behind unrealistic expectations is perfectionism. That inner voice telling you that everything you do must be flawless, that there's no room for error. It whispers, you have to get this right. You can't afford to mess up. But here's the truth. Perfection is a mirage. No matter how much you achieve, it keeps moving the goalpost. And that pursuit leaves you feeling like you're never enough. Letting go of perfectionism doesn't mean lowering your standards. It means embracing progress over perfection. It means allowing yourself the grace to make mistakes, learn, and improve. Every misstep becomes a stepping stone, not a sentence of failure. Another source of unrealistic expectations comes from how we view others. Have you ever expected someone to understand you completely, agree with you instantly, or act exactly how you think they should? When people don't meet those unspoken expectations, it often leads to disappointment, even resentment. But here's the truth. People are complex, flawed, just like we are. They have their own beliefs, emotions, struggles, and blind spots. Expecting them to always align with your ideals is a setup for frustration. That doesn't mean accepting harmful behavior. It means practicing empathy and perspective. It means recognizing that not everyone will respond the way you want, and that's okay. So how do we begin releasing unrealistic expectations? Step 1. Identify where your expectations may be too high. Are you demanding instant success in an area that takes time, like building a career, healing from emotional pain, or developing a new habit? Are you holding others to standards they don't even know exist? Pause and ask yourself, is this expectation realistic, or is it silently draining me? Step 2. Shift your mindset toward flexibility. Instead of rigidly expecting everything to go smoothly, prepare for multiple outcomes. This isn't pessimism, it's resilience. Life is unpredictable, and flexibility is what allows you to bend instead of break. Here's a simple but powerful exercise. Think of an area in your life where you've been feeling stuck or frustrated. Now ask yourself, is my frustration coming from an unmet expectation I never questioned? If yes, take a deep breath and reframe it. Instead of expecting things to be perfect, focus on what you can actually control: your effort, attitude, and response. Ask yourself, am I clinging to expectations that are making me miserable? If so, remind yourself, letting go of unrealistic expectations doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're choosing clarity over confusion, peace over pressure. You can still aim high. You can still strive for excellence. But now you're doing it from a place of grounded reality, not illusion. Because here's the secret. Life rarely unfolds exactly as we imagine. But when you release the grip of rigid expectations, you make space for acceptance, for gratitude, and for unexpected joy. You stop resisting what is and start dancing with it. And even when the music changes, you remain steady. In this mindset, progress becomes more meaningful than perfection, and setbacks lose their power to define you. Principle 6. Letting go of the need to always be right, which brings us to another emotional trap many of us fall into: the need to always be right. Be honest. Have you ever been in an argument where you just couldn't back down? Not because the point really mattered, but because you felt you had to win? It happens to all of us. The desire to be right feels like a defensive truth. but often it's actually a defense of ego. In the previous section, we touched on a common emotional trap, the need to always be right. It might feel like a small thing, but when left unchecked, this mindset can quietly sabotage relationships and inner peace. So let's look deeper at why this happens and how letting go of that need can unlock clarity and connection. When we constantly strive to be right, we unintentionally create unnecessary tension in our relationships. Conversations become competitions. Disagreements turn into battles. Instead of seeking mutual understanding, we become fixated on one goal: winning. But at what cost? In this pursuit, we often lose sight of what truly matters: peace of mind and genuine connection. The irony? Even when we do win an argument, the victory often feels hollow. Why? Because it came at the expense of harmony, trust, and respect. It might stroke the ego, but it drains the heart. Letting go of the need to always be right doesn't mean abandoning your values or silencing your voice. It means choosing your battles wisely. It means knowing when to stand firm and when to prioritize peace over pride. Not every disagreement needs to have a clear winner. Sometimes the most courageous and respectful choice is to simply say, let's agree to disagree. Stoic philosophy offers timeless wisdom on this. Epictetus once said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." The Stoics believe that true wisdom begins with humility, the courage to listen, the openness to learn, and the strength to admit when you might be wrong. Think about it. The people you admire most in life, are they the loudest in the room? The ones who always insist on having the last word? Or are they the ones who pause, listen, and respond with thoughtfulness? Those who practice humility, who can say, "I might be wrong," or "tell me more," are the ones who build lasting trust and respect. Being right might feel satisfying in the moment, but being kind, curious, and open-minded creates connection that lasts. So how do you begin letting go of this need? Start with active listening. The next time you find yourself in a disagreement, try this. Instead of rushing to defend your point, pause. Truly listen to the other person. Not just the words, but the meaning, the emotion behind them. Ask yourself, am I listening to understand or just waiting for my turn to speak? This small shift in mindset can transform the entire conversation. It signals that you're not just debating, you're engaging. And when people feel heard, walls come down. Another helpful strategy is to ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Not every conflict deserves your emotional energy. If it's a minor issue or something that likely won't matter in a week or even a day, consider letting it go. Choosing inner calm over ego validation isn't weakness, it's strength. It shows maturity, wisdom, and self-respect. Here's a practical exercise you can try. The next time you catch yourself in a heated exchange, pause and ask, do I need to be right or do I want to understand? If the answer points to ego, try stepping back, take a breath, choose understanding instead. Notice how the energy shifts, not just in the conversation, but inside you. Ask yourself one final question. Am I sacrificing my peace just to prove a point? If the answer is yes, then it's time to reframe the situation. Letting go of the need to always be right doesn't mean losing. It means choosing a better outcome: harmony, respect, and emotional well-being. Because when you release the urge to constantly defend your position, you also release the anxiety, stress, and defensiveness that come with it. You stop operating from a place of fear and start living from a place of freedom. In the end, the reward is profound: better relationships, less conflict, and most importantly, a clear, calm mind that no longer feels the need to fight every battle. When you prioritize understanding over being right, you don't just win arguments, you win back your peace. Principle 7, silencing the digital noise. And now let's explore another powerful way to protect your emotional clarity, one that's especially relevant in our fast-paced, hyper-connected world. In today's society, escaping the constant flood of notifications, updates, and messages feels nearly impossible. Every beep, buzz, and blinking screen demands your attention, pulling you away from the present moment and what truly matters. While technology has brought immense convenience, it has also created a new kind of chaos, digital noise, the kind that clutters your mind, fragments your focus, and leaves you feeling perpetually distracted. So how do we reclaim our attention in a world full of interruptions? That's what we'll explore next. In the last section, we uncovered how the need to always be right can quietly sabotage your peace and relationships. Now let's turn our attention to a modern challenge that's just as draining, but far more subtle: digital noise. We live in a world that's always on, a world of pings, pop-ups, and endless scrolls. And while we may think we're staying connected or informed, the truth is this constant noise is quietly stealing something far more valuable: our mental clarity and sense of self. This isn't just about wasted time. It's about a deeper cost. Digital noise doesn't just eat away at your schedule, it consumes your mental space. When you're perpetually plugged in, your brain never gets a chance to rest. You're constantly reacting, constantly consuming. And over time, that overstimulation chips away at your ability to focus, to reflect, and to be truly present in your own life. You might tell yourself, it's just 5 minutes on Instagram, or I'll quickly check this email. But those quick check-ins add up until your mind feels scattered, anxious, and oddly disconnected, even when you're surrounded by updates and notifications. So what's the answer? Silencing the digital noise doesn't mean giving up technology altogether. That's neither realistic nor necessary. What it does mean is learning to use technology intentionally instead of letting it use you. Start by identifying your biggest sources of digital noise. Is it endless scrolling through social media, a group chat that never stops buzzing, constant email alerts that interrupt your day before you can even find your rhythm? Once you recognize where most of the noise is coming from, you can take targeted steps to reduce it. One effective strategy is to declutter your digital environment. Unfollow accounts that don't inspire or uplift you. Unsubscribe from newsletters and email lists that you never actually read. Turn off notifications that don't require immediate attention. Every single alert you silence is a small act of self-respect, a way of reclaiming your mind from constant interruption. Another powerful practice? Introduce tech-free moments into your day. Try starting your morning without reaching for your phone for the first 30 minutes. Instead, use that sacred time to breathe, journal, stretch, or simply sip your coffee in silence. Let your mind settle before the world floods in. Likewise, designate a time each evening to put your devices away and wind down. Whether it's dinner without screens, a book before bed, or a quiet walk outside, these screen-free rituals can have a profound impact on your mental well-being. The Stoics emphasize the importance of controlling what's within your power, and in today's world, that includes your attention. You may not be able to eliminate digital distractions entirely, but you can decide how much of your life you hand over to them. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In the digital age, applying this wisdom means becoming a guardian of your attention and treating it like the precious resource it is. Here's a practical exercise you can try. Set specific times during the day to check your phone or email instead of responding to every buzz as it happens. Use features like Do Not Disturb, Focus Mode, or app limits to help you stay intentional. You'll be surprised at how much calmer, clearer, and more focused you feel when you're not being pulled in 100 directions. Ask yourself honestly, am I using technology intentionally or is it using me? If you find yourself spending more time consuming meaningless content than engaging in meaningful experiences, that's a sign that it's time to reset your relationship with technology. Remember, silencing the digital noise isn't about cutting yourself off from the world. It's about reconnecting with yourself. When you reduce the distractions, you create space for deeper focus, for richer conversations, and for genuine peace of mind. In a world that's constantly demanding your attention, learning to pause, breathe, and choose what deserves your energy is one of the most powerful habits you can build. Principle 8. Transforming negative thoughts into positive ones. And now we turn inward, because even when the world is quiet, sometimes the loudest noise comes from our own minds. Negative thoughts have a sneaky way of creeping in, unnoticed at first, then dominating your mood, your mindset, and your outlook on life. Let's explore how to change that, starting with awareness. In the last section, we explored how reducing digital distractions can help us reconnect with what truly matters. But even when the world is quiet, another kind of noise can be just as loud, the chatter inside our own minds. And often it's not kind. Negative thoughts don't always arrive like a storm. Most of the time, they start as whispers, tiny moments of self-doubt, fleeting worries, quiet criticism. But left unchecked, they grow. What begins as a small concern can spiral into a persistent mental loop that clouds your judgment, weighs you down, and drains your emotional energy. Suddenly, life feels heavier than it really is. The truth is, your thoughts shape your reality. If you constantly feed your mind with negativity, it's no wonder you feel anxious, unmotivated, or overwhelmed. What you focus on expands, and when you focus on what's wrong, what's missing, or what you're afraid of, your inner world starts to reflect that darkness. But here's where Stoicism gives us power. While we can't always control what happens to us, we can absolutely control how we interpret it and how we respond. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." It's a beautiful and powerful reminder that our internal dialogue, the thoughts we repeat to ourselves day in and day out, gradually becomes the lens through which we experience the world. Transforming negative thoughts into positive ones doesn't mean pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's not about forcing toxic positivity or ignoring hard truths. Rather, it's about becoming conscious of harmful thought patterns and choosing to replace them with perspectives that are more constructive, more truthful, and more empowering. The first step, awareness. Many people don't even realize how often they engage in negative self-talk. Why? Because it's become a habit, like background music you've gotten used to, even if it's playing the wrong tune. So start by listening. Pay attention to what you're saying to yourself, especially in challenging moments. When you notice a negative thought, don't judge it. Instead, gently acknowledge it. Then ask yourself, is this thought helping me or is it holding me back? That one question is powerful. It creates just enough space between you and the thought so you don't automatically believe it or let it drive your emotions. Next comes the practice of reframing. Reframing is simply about seeing a situation from a different, more balanced angle. For example, instead of thinking, "I always mess things up," you can reframe it to, "I made a mistake, but I'm learning and I can improve." See the difference? The first thought shuts you down. The second one opens a door to growth. It's not about denying reality. It's about redefining it in a way that strengthens rather than weakens you. Another powerful antidote to negative thinking is gratitude. Negative thoughts tend to zoom in on what's lacking, what's broken, or what's gone wrong. Gratitude zooms out. It reminds you of what's already here, what's going right, and what's worth appreciating, even in the midst of difficulty. So when you catch yourself overwhelmed with negativity, pause, take a breath, then name 3 things, big or small, that you're grateful for. It could be the comfort of your bed, a supportive friend, the chance to start fresh today. These moments of gratitude don't erase life's problems, but they rebalance your perspective and anchor you in something real. Also, take a look at the voices and influences that surround you. Are you spending time with people who uplift you, or people who pull you into drama and negativity? Are you filling your mind with inspiring books, podcasts, and conversations, or feeding it with content that fuels fear, comparison, or self-doubt? The people you spend time with and the content you consume shape your mental landscape more than you realize. So be intentional. Choose influences that nourish you, that challenge you to grow, that help you see the best in yourself and in life. Here's a practical exercise to try. The next time you catch yourself caught in a negative thought loop, pause and ask, is this thought based on facts, or is it just fear, assumption, or an old belief? If it's fear, challenge it. If it's assumption, investigate it. Then replace it with a thought that's more grounded and empowering. For instance, if you find yourself thinking, I'll never succeed, reframe it as, success takes time. Every step I take is part of the journey. It's not magic, but it's a mental shift. And over time, these shifts rewire your mindset. In the previous section, we explored how shifting your internal dialogue, one thought at a time, can dramatically change the way you experience life. Now let's take that momentum further, because once your mind begins to clear, the next step becomes obvious. Clearing the clutter that surrounds and weighs on you, both physically and mentally. But before we go there, here's one last thought to close the loop on your inner narrative. Every thought you choose to entertain is a small vote for the person you're becoming. Ask yourself, am I feeding my mind with thoughts that lift me up, or ones that tear me down? If the answer is the latter, don't beat yourself up. Just commit to changing the narrative. You can't always control the first thought that pops into your mind, but you can control whether you dwell on it or replace it with something more empowering. Transforming your mindset isn't about pretending everything's perfect. It's about choosing a perspective that supports your growth instead of limiting your potential. And the magic is in the repetition. Over time, this practice reshapes your brain. It builds resilience, strengthens optimism, and gives you back control over your inner world. Because when you master your thoughts, you master your life. Principle 9, clearing physical and mental clutter. Let me ask you something simple. Have you ever walked into a messy room and immediately felt uneasy, even if you couldn't explain why? That's the power of clutter. Whether it's piles of paper on your desk, laundry on the floor, or dozens of unclosed browser tabs, clutter creates noise. It disrupts your focus, drains your energy, and can leave your mind feeling just as chaotic as the space around you. And here's the deeper truth. Clutter isn't just physical. It can be emotional, mental, unfinished conversations, unmade decisions, thoughts that circle in your head like a broken record. These forms of clutter, both seen and unseen, have a profound effect on your ability to feel calm, centered, and in control. That's why clearing both physical and mental clutter is essential, not just for tidiness, but for your well-being. Let's begin with the physical. When your environment is messy, your brain has to process every item in view, even if you're not consciously paying attention. This constant visual stimulus can spike stress levels and reduce your ability to concentrate. It's not just about cleaning up to look good. It's about creating a space that allows your nervous system to relax. Start small. Don't aim for a home makeover overnight. Pick one drawer, one desk, or even just your nightstand. As you sort through the items, ask yourself, does this add value to my life, or is it just taking up space? If it doesn't serve a clear purpose or bring you joy, let it go. The goal is not perfection, but intention. Surround yourself with things that uplift, not overwhelm you. You'll likely notice that as your space becomes clearer, so does your mind. Now let's talk about mental clutter. This kind of clutter isn't as easy to see, but you feel it. It looks like racing thoughts, unfinished tasks, emotional baggage, or the nagging feeling that you're behind. Mental clutter shows up when you're trying to do too many things at once, or when you're holding on to things you haven't processed yet. The Stoics believed in simplicity, not just in lifestyle, but in thought. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." In other words, it's not the lack of time that exhausts us, but the way we scatter our energy. So how do we clear mental clutter? One effective method is journaling. Take a few minutes each day to write down your thoughts, to-do lists, and worries. Getting your thoughts out of your head and onto paper creates immediate relief. It frees up space in your mind and gives you a clearer view of what truly matters. You can also use journaling as a tool to identify what's been weighing on you and what steps you can take to resolve it. Another helpful strategy: mindful prioritization. Often, mental clutter comes from trying to juggle 10 things at once and feeling like you're making progress on none. Instead of spreading yourself thin, start each day by choosing just 3 top priorities, the things that, if accomplished, would make the day feel meaningful. Let go of the pressure to do everything. Instead, focus on doing a few things well. This simple practice can dramatically improve your focus, reduce stress, and help you feel more in control. Previously, we explored the power of clearing both physical and mental clutter, and how that simple act can create space for calm, clarity, and control. Now let's put that into practice and take it one step further. Start small. Don't aim to reorganize your entire life overnight. Just choose one small area in your home today, a shelf, your desk, the corner of your room, or even a drawer. Give it your full attention. As you remove items and make intentional choices about what stays and what goes, notice what happens inside you. You may feel lighter, more focused, even a little more in control of your day. Then take 5 quiet minutes and write down anything that's cluttering your mind. It could be unfinished tasks, worries, lingering decisions, or thoughts that won't go away. Getting them out of your head and onto paper gives your mind space to breathe. This simple practice of clearing both your external and internal space is more than a productivity hack. It's an act of self-care. It grounds you, it recenters you, and it reminds you that you do have the power to create order and peace in your world. Ask yourself, am I holding on to things, physically or mentally, that no longer serve me? If the answer is yes, give yourself permission to begin letting go. Remember, clearing clutter doesn't mean stripping your life bare. It means making room for what truly matters. Clutter, whether it's in your home or in your head, is noise. It distracts, overwhelms, and keeps you from being fully present. By quietly eliminating what no longer serves you, you create space for clarity, focus, and peace. Life becomes simpler, lighter, more intentional. And in that simplicity, you'll discover something powerful, a sense of freedom, a deeper calm, and a renewed connection to yourself. Principle 10. Escaping the trap of unnecessary comparisons. Now that we've cleared the space around and within us, let's talk about a different kind of mental clutter, one that can feel even more toxic than a messy desk: comparison. In today's world, especially with the constant scroll of social media, it's easier than ever to fall into this trap. You see someone's promotion, their perfect relationship, their scenic vacation, and suddenly your own life seems dull, behind, or not enough. But let's pause and ask the hard question. Are you comparing your entire, imperfect, real life to someone else's highlight reel? Because that's what unnecessary comparison often is. It's not a fair match. You're comparing the whole of yourself, your doubts, your late nights, your silent battles, with someone else's filtered moment of triumph. And when you do that, you will always feel like you're falling short. Comparison is a thief. It robs you of joy, confidence, and self-worth. It makes you chase someone else's version of success rather than appreciating your own path. The Stoics saw this danger long ago. Their answer? Don't look sideways. Look inward. Seneca advised. As long as you live, keep learning how to live. In other words, the only comparison that truly matters is with your past self. Ask yourself, am I growing? Am I wiser, calmer, or more grounded than I was yesterday, last month, or last year? That's the measure that counts. Progress isn't about outpacing others. It's about becoming a better version of yourself, day by day. Escaping the comparison trap starts with shifting your focus inward. Reconnect with your values. Ask, what truly matters to me? Am I living in alignment with that? When your actions are guided by your core values, not by what everyone else is doing, you stop feeling the need to keep up. You stop measuring success by likes, milestones, or timelines that don't belong to you. Another powerful way to break free from comparison is through gratitude. When you're stuck in comparison, your mind fixates on what's missing. Gratitude shifts the focus to what's present. It pulls your attention back to the blessings you might be overlooking. Each day, take a moment to reflect on 3 things you're grateful for. They don't need to be grand. A warm meal, a kind text from a friend, a peaceful morning. These small things are anchors. They ground you in reality, in abundance, in enoughness. Lastly, consider limiting your exposure to comparison triggers. If scrolling through social media leaves you feeling behind, anxious, or dissatisfied, it's time to take a break. Curate your feed. Unfollow or mute accounts that fuel insecurity. Replace them with voices that inspire and uplift. Because here's the truth. Your journey is yours alone. It doesn't have to look like anyone else's, and it's not meant to. In the last section, we explored the trap of comparison, how constantly measuring your life against others can leave you feeling inadequate and disconnected from your own path. Now let's talk about what it looks like to take that awareness and turn it into action. When you notice that comparison is stealing your joy, don't just sit with the discomfort, do something about it. Take a step back, unfollow accounts or mute content that leaves you feeling like you're not enough. Your online space should inspire, not diminish, your sense of self-worth. And here's something else. Spend more time doing things that bring you joy and real fulfillment. Activities that engage your heart, challenge your mind, or nourish your spirit. Maybe it's reading, walking in nature, working on a passion project, or spending time with someone who really listens. These are the moments that reconnect you with your value. Because remember, you have control over what you consume. Whether it's the media you scroll through or the conversations you choose to have, you're the curator of your mental environment. And building a positive, intentional space is key to protecting your peace of mind. Here's a simple but powerful exercise. The next time you catch yourself comparing your life to someone else's, pause and ask yourself, what's one thing I've accomplished recently that I'm proud of? It doesn't have to be huge. Maybe you finally finished a book. Maybe you had a difficult conversation with grace. Maybe you simply showed up for yourself on a hard day. Whatever it is, let it remind you that your progress matters. Then go deeper. Am I living according to my values, or am I just trying to keep up with someone else's idea of success? If the answer reveals that you've drifted from what really matters to you, that's okay. Just gently redirect. Remind yourself, everyone's path is different. What works for them may not work for you. And that's not failure. That's freedom. Comparison is a distraction. It pulls your energy away from your own growth and towards someone else's highlight reel. But when you let go of that need to measure your life against others, you give yourself permission to focus on what actually matters: your progress, your peace, your purpose. And in that shift, you'll find something beautiful, a deeper sense of fulfillment and a renewed connection to who you truly are. Because life, at its core, isn't always about adding more. Often the most profound transformation comes from removing what no longer serves us: the fears we cling to, the toxic relationships we tolerate, the bad habits we excuse, the unrealistic expectations we carry like weight on our shoulders. These things don't just fill space. They quietly shape the way we live. They cloud our clarity, drain our energy, and distance us from inner peace. But when you begin to quietly, intentionally eliminate what doesn't belong, you create room for something far more meaningful: freedom, fulfillment, inner strength. This episode wasn't about massive, sweeping change. It was about the quiet kind, the kind that happens one small decision at a time. Letting go of the fear of judgment, cutting ties with what drains you, choosing a life where your time, energy, and attention are filled with people and habits that lift you up. It's not always easy. Letting go takes courage, especially when it comes to people you once trusted. It takes discipline to break the cycle of a destructive habit, and it takes deep self-awareness to loosen your grip on the illusion of control. But every small step matters. Every quiet choice to remove what no longer serves you is a movement toward a more intentional life. Marcus Aurelius said it best: "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The real power lies not in fixing the world around you, but in changing how you respond to it. When you stop trying to control what's out of reach and start mastering what's within your grasp, your thoughts, your actions, your attitude, you begin to reclaim your life. Here's the truth: transformation doesn't always shout. Sometimes the most powerful breakthroughs happen in silence, in those quiet moments when you choose to let go of something heavy you've carried for too long. And it's in those moments, subtle and still, that you start to build a life that reflects who you truly are: stronger, calmer, more focused on what truly matters. Ask yourself, what's one thing I'm ready to let go of today? And when you're ready, take that small step, because in that step lies your freedom. In the last part, we asked a powerful question: what's one thing you're ready to let go of today? Now let's make that shift real, one quiet, intentional step at a time. Ask yourself, what's one thing I can quietly eliminate from my life today? It doesn't need to be dramatic. It could be something simple: a small habit that no longer serves you, a recurring negative thought, or perhaps a subtle but toxic influence in your environment. Big or small, the impact is real. And here's the key: start small. Change doesn't need to feel overwhelming. It doesn't need to happen all at once. It can be gradual, it can be steady, and most importantly, it can be intentional. Every little decision to let go of something that drains you, distracts you, or dims your light, no matter how small, is a declaration of self-respect. With each release, you take a step closer to living with more clarity, less stress, and a deeper connection to the person you truly want to become. And remember, you don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't need to seek approval or validation for the changes you make. This journey, it's yours and yours alone. The only thing that truly matters is this: are you making progress, quiet, steady, meaningful progress toward becoming the best version of yourself? So today, go forward with intention. Let go of what no longer serves you. Create space for peace of mind, for genuine connection, for a life that feels aligned with your values. And trust this truth. The most profound transformation often begins not with loud declarations, but with quiet courage. Thank you for spending this time with us. If this episode spoke to you, take a few moments to reflect. What insight stayed with you? What shift do you feel ready to make? Because when you're ready to quietly transform your life, it starts with just one small change, one step, one decision, one gentle release. Remember, growth isn't always loud. Letting go isn't always visible, but you will feel the difference. So until next time, keep growing, keep letting go, keep creating a life that feels truly deeply yours. Stay strong, stay intentional, and above all, stay true to yourself.